My daughter and her husband were hosting my 65th birthday at their cottage in Muskoka when my wife grabbed my arm and whispered, "We need to leave. Right now. Don't ask questions." I thought she was joking about escaping the crowd until I saw her face. She wasn't joking. My name is Richard Henderson. I'm 65 years old, recently retired from a career in commercial real estate development here in Toronto. My wife Claire and I have been married for 38 years. We have 2 children, our daughter Jessica, 36, and our son Michael, 32. Jessica married a man named Derek 5 years ago, and they seemed happy enough, though I'll admit I never quite warmed to him. There was always something calculated about Derek, something that felt rehearsed. But Jessica loved him, and that was enough for me. Or so I thought. The party was Jessica's idea. She insisted on hosting it at their cottage, a beautiful property on Lake Muskoka that we'd helped them purchase 3 years ago. "Dad, you've worked so hard your whole life," she'd said when she called to invite us. "Let us take care of you for once. Just relax and enjoy yourself." It was a perfect September afternoon. About 40 guests mingled on the deck overlooking the water. My grandchildren, Emma and Noah, were running around with sparklers left over from Canada Day. I was holding a glass of my favorite scotch, the expensive kind that Jessica knew I saved for special occasions, when Claire pulled me aside. "Come with me," she said quietly. "To the car, now." "What?" "The party just started. I haven't even cut the cake yet." "Richard." Her voice was steady, but her eyes weren't. "Trust me. We're leaving." I'd learned in 38 years of marriage that when Claire used that particular tone, you listened. I set down my glass and followed her through the house, smiling and waving at guests as if nothing was wrong. My stomach was churning. What could have happened? We got to the car, and Claire immediately locked the doors. She pulled out her phone and showed me a screenshot. It took me a moment to understand what I was looking at. It was an email thread between Jessica and Derek. "Read it," Claire said. I scrolled. My hands started shaking. The first email was from Derek to Jessica, dated 6 weeks ago. "He's been taking the capsules regularly? No suspicion?" Jessica's response: "Every morning with his coffee. He thinks they're the herbal supplements you recommended. Says he's feeling more energetic lately." Ironic. Derek: "Good." Dr. Patel confirmed the timeline. "Another 8 to 10 weeks at this dosage, and it'll look completely natural. Heart failure. No one will question it, especially given his age and the stress from the business sale." Jessica: "And you're certain about the dosage? I can't have him getting sick and going to a hospital before." Derek: "I'm certain. I've done the research. This is pharmaceutical-grade digoxin, not some amateur poison. The beauty is that it mimics heart disease symptoms. Fatigue, irregular heartbeat, some nausea, all explainable for a 65-year-old man. By the time anyone thinks to test for it, it'll be too late to matter." I barely made it out of the car before I vomited in the bushes. Digoxin. I knew that word. My mother had taken it for her heart condition before she died. But in the wrong doses, in someone who didn't need it. "Where did you find this?" I managed to ask. "Jessica's laptop," Claire said. She was crying now, silent tears running down her face. I went inside to use the bathroom. Her laptop was open on the bed. I wasn't snooping, Richard, I swear. But I saw Derek's name and I had a feeling. Call it mother's intuition. "There has to be some explanation," I said, even as I knew there wasn't. "Maybe they're talking about someone else. Maybe." "Keep reading." I scrolled further. There were dozens of emails, planning, calculating, my daughter and her husband methodically planning my death. Jessica: "Once Dad's gone, Mom will be devastated. She'll probably move in with us, or at least nearby. We can manage her then." Derek: "The estate is $14 million after the business sale, correct? Split with your brother, that's $7 million for you. But if we play this right, we can contest Michael's share. He's been distant, barely involved with the family. We can argue undue influence, mental incompetence on your father's part when he drafted the will." Jessica: "Michael won't fight us. He's too passive. And if he does, we'll drag it out in court until he settles for less." Derek: "Perfect. The cottage renovation will cost $800,000. Then we can finally get the boat I've been wanting. And Emma and Noah's private school fees are only going up. My daughter, my little girl who I'd taught to ride a bike, who'd cried on my shoulder through her first heartbreak, who'd walked down the aisle holding my arm 5 years ago. She was killing me for money. We need to call the police, Claire said. And tell them what? That we read some emails? They'll say it's a domestic dispute. Jessica and Derek will delete everything and will look like paranoid old fools. Then what do we do? I thought for a moment. We need proof. Real, undeniable proof. Richard, you've been taking those capsules every morning for 6 weeks. We need to get you to a hospital. Not yet. If I show up at emergency claiming I've been poisoned, they'll know we're on to them. We need to be smart about this. I called my lawyer, Kenneth Morrison, from the car. He'd handled my business affairs for 20 years. I trusted him completely. Ken, I need your help. And I need your discretion. What's going on, Richard? I explained everything. To his credit, Ken didn't waste time with disbelief or questions about whether I was sure. He just shifted into problem-solving mode. First thing, get to my office. I have a doctor friend who makes house calls, very discreet. Dr. Sarah Chen. She'll do blood work without filing any reports. We need to know what we're dealing with. And then? Then we build a case. But Richard, if you've been taking digoxin for 6 weeks, we need to make sure you're okay. That's priority one. We drove straight to Ken's office in downtown Toronto, an hour and a half from Muskoka. I texted Jessica that I wasn't feeling well, that we'd left early. She responded immediately. Oh no, what's wrong? Do you need anything? The concern in her message made me want to vomit again. Dr. Chen met us at Ken's office. She was a woman in her 50s, calm and professional. She drew blood, checked my heart rate and blood pressure, asked detailed questions about my symptoms over the past 6 weeks. Headaches? She asked. Yes. I thought it was just stress from the business sale. Nausea? Sometimes. In the mornings. Vision problems? Seeing yellow or green halos around lights? I stopped. Actually, yes. I thought I needed new glasses. Dr. Chen looked at Ken, then at me. Those are classic symptoms of digoxin toxicity. I'll have the lab results by tomorrow morning. But based on your symptoms, I'd say you've definitely been ingesting something you shouldn't be. How dangerous is this? Claire asked, her voice cracking. Digoxin toxicity is very serious. In the doses it sounds like you've been taking, Mr. Henderson, we're talking about a drug that affects your heart rhythm. Too much can cause arrhythmia, heart attack, or cardiac arrest. The fact that you're experiencing symptoms means you're already at a concerning level. Can you help him? Yes, but he'll need chelation therapy to remove the digoxin from his system, and he needs to stop taking those capsules immediately. I threw them out before we left, Claire said. Every single one. That night, Claire and I stayed at the Four Seasons instead of going home. I didn't trust being in our own house, didn't trust that Jessica or Derek might show up. Ken arranged for a security detail, 2 former police officers who watched our hotel room door. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Jessica as a little girl, 7 years old, gap-toothed, climbing into my lap to read stories. 15, crying because some boy had been cruel to her at school. 23, graduating from the University of Toronto with honors in business administration. So proud, so ambitious. Where had I gone wrong? You didn't, Claire whispered in the darkness. She was awake too. You were a good father. You gave her everything. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe I gave her too much. Don't do that to yourself. We gave both our kids the same upbringing, the same opportunities. Michael turned out fine. Michael, my son, living in Vancouver with his partner, working as a marine biologist. We'd drifted apart over the years, mostly due to distance. But he was a good man. Honest. He'd never. Should we tell Michael? I asked. Not yet. Let's deal with this first. Dr. Chen called the next morning at 7. Your digoxin levels are dangerously elevated. You have approximately 10 times the therapeutic dose in your system. Mr. Henderson, if you'd continued taking those capsules for another month as they planned, you would have died. It would have looked exactly like heart failure. The reality hit me like a physical blow. My daughter had been killing me. Slowly, methodically, day by day, watching me decline. There's more, Dr. Chen continued. I analyzed one of the capsules your wife saved. It's not just digoxin. There's also a small amount of a beta blocker mixed in. That's clever, actually. The beta blocker would mask some of the early warning symptoms of digoxin toxicity. You would have felt tired and weak, but not sick enough to seek immediate medical attention. Derek, I said. He's a pharmaceutical sales rep. He would know how to do this. Ken joined us at the hotel with a private investigator named Margaret Oakes. Margaret was a woman in her 60s, gray-haired and grandmotherly, which apparently made people underestimate her. She'd been a detective with Toronto police for 30 years before retiring. I've dealt with cases like this before, Margaret said. Not many, thankfully, but enough to know how to proceed. First question, do you want your daughter to go to prison? The question hung in the air. Claire started crying again. I don't know, I said honestly. I want justice. I want them to pay for what they did, but she's my daughter. I understand. But you need to prepare yourself, Richard. If we pursue this legally, and I think we should, Jessica will face serious charges. Attempted murder. Conspiracy to commit murder. She's looking at significant prison time. And if we don't pursue it, then she gets away with trying to kill you. And who's to say she won't try again? Or try with someone else? People who are capable of this don't usually stop at one attempt. She was right. I knew she was right. What do? We need more evidence. The emails are good, but a decent lawyer could argue they were taken out of context, or that they were just dark jokes in poor taste. We need to catch them in the act. How? Margaret smiled. We're going to give them exactly what they want. Richard, you're going to get very sick, very quickly, and we're going to see how your daughter and son-in-law respond. The plan was risky but simple. Dr. Chen would monitor me closely while I pretended to experience a health crisis. We'd see if Jessica and Derek tried to prevent me from getting real medical help, or if they tried to accelerate my decline. But first, we needed to secure the evidence we already had. Ken filed a motion with the Ontario Superior Court for an emergency order to preserve Jessica's electronic devices and communications. He argued that there was evidence of a conspiracy to commit murder, and that without court intervention, that evidence might be destroyed. The judge, Justice Margaret Brennan, reviewed the emails in camera. 2 hours later, she issued the order. That afternoon, the police executed a search warrant at Jessica and Derek's cottage. They seized laptops, phones, tablets. Jessica called me, hysterical. Dad, the police are here. They're taking everything. They won't tell me why. What's happening? It took everything in me not to scream at her. Instead, I said, I don't know, sweetheart. Have they arrested anyone? No, but they're treating us like criminals. Derek's furious. Dad, can you help? Can you call someone? I'll see what I can find out. I hung up. Claire was watching me, her face pale. I can't believe she called you for help, she said. After what she's done, she doesn't know that we know. She still thinks she's fooled us. The next phase began. Dr. Chen had me stop the chelation therapy temporarily, and I genuinely started feeling worse. The digoxin was still in my system, still affecting my heart. It wasn't safe, but it was necessary. I called Jessica. I'm not feeling well, I said, letting my voice sound weak. Really not well. Chest pains, trouble breathing. Oh my God, Dad, you need to go to the hospital. I don't want to make a fuss. Maybe I'll just rest. No, you should definitely see a doctor. Her concern sounded genuine. Was it possible we were wrong? Was there some explanation? Then, actually, why don't you come stay with us for a few days? I can keep an eye on you. Make sure you're eating properly and taking your supplements. There it was. She wanted me back under her control, back where she could give me the capsules. That's thoughtful, honey, but I think I just need some rest. Dad, I insist. Mom must be worried sick. Let me take care of you. Maybe in a few days. I hung up. Margaret, who'd been listening on speaker, nodded. She's trying to regain access to you. That's good evidence of intent. Over the next week, Jessica called constantly. She offered to bring me food, to drive me to appointments, to bring me the supplements that have been helping so much. Each offer was documented, recorded with her permission, under Ontario's one-party consent laws. Meanwhile, the forensic analysis of her devices was damning. Hundreds of searches on Derek's laptop, undetectable poisons, digoxin overdose symptoms, how to avoid murder charges, contesting a will in Ontario. Text messages between Jessica and Derek. Jessica, he sounds really sick. Maybe we should back off for a bit. Derek, are you kidding? We're so close. Once the will is read, we need to move fast on Michael's share. I've already talked to 3 lawyers about contest strategies. Jessica, I feel guilty. Derek, you'll feel better on our new boat. Remember why we're doing this. The most damning evidence came from Derek's phone. He'd been photographing the capsules he was preparing, apparently keeping records of dosages. Margaret found a folder with over 40 photos, each labeled with a date. He'd documented his own crime. Why would anyone be this stupid? I asked Ken. Arrogance. He's a pharmaceutical rep. He thought he was smart enough to get away with it. Didn't think anyone would ever look. 2 weeks after the initial discovery, the Crown Attorney's office laid charges: attempted murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and fraud over $5,000 for Jessica. For Derek, the same charges plus unauthorized possession of prescription drugs. The arrest happened at dawn. I wasn't there, but Margaret told me the details later. Jessica screamed that it was a mistake, that we'd set them up. Derek tried to run, got as far as the backyard before the officers tackled him. The preliminary hearing was 3 months later. Claire and I sat in the courtroom as the Crown Attorney presented the evidence. The emails, the photos, the text messages, the forensic analysis of the capsules, Dr. Chen's testimony about my digoxin levels, Margaret's testimony about the investigation. Jessica wouldn't look at me. She sat at the defense table in a gray suit, staring straight ahead. Derek kept whispering to his lawyer, gesturing angrily. When it was my turn to testify, I had to describe taking the capsules every morning. How Jessica had given them to me 6 months ago, said they were a special herbal supplement that Derek recommended. How she'd call to make sure I was taking them regularly. How she'd seem so caring, so concerned about my health. Mr. Henderson, the Crown Attorney asked, did you have any suspicion that your daughter was trying to harm you? No, never. She's my daughter. I trusted her completely. And if your wife hadn't found those emails, what do you think would have happened? I think I'd be dead. The defense tried to argue that the emails were taken out of context, that it was all a misunderstanding. Jessica's lawyer suggested that maybe Derek had been researching digoxin for work purposes, that the emails were poorly worded but innocent. The judge wasn't buying it. Jessica and Derek were bound over for trial. Bail was set at $500,000 each, with strict conditions, including no contact with me or Claire. They couldn't make bail. They'd spent too much money already, planning their future with my money. The trial took place the following spring. It lasted 3 weeks. The jury deliberated for 8 hours. Guilty on all counts. At sentencing, the judge was harsh. This was a calculated, premeditated attempt to murder a parent for financial gain. You betrayed the most fundamental bond of trust between parent and child. The court finds no mitigating factors. Jessica got 22 years. Derek got 25 because of his pharmaceutical knowledge and the fact that he'd actually prepared the poison. Jessica finally looked at me as they led her away. She was crying, mascara running down her face. I'm sorry, Daddy, she mouthed. I didn't respond. I just took Claire's hand, and we left the courtroom. Michael flew in from Vancouver the day after sentencing. We met at a quiet restaurant on the Danforth. I hadn't told him much over the phone, just that there'd been trouble with Jessica. When I explained everything, he went pale. She tried to kill you? For money? For her half of the estate. And apparently she was planning to contest your share too. Michael pushed his plate away. I don't understand. We had the same childhood, the same parents. Why would she? I've asked myself that question every day for the past year, son. I don't have an answer. I'm so sorry, Dad. I should have been around more. Maybe if I'd been closer, I would have seen something. This isn't your fault. This is on her and Derek. What about Emma and Noah? Michael asked. Jessica's kids. That was the hardest part. The grandchildren. Emma was 8 now. Noah was 6. They didn't understand why their mother was gone, why they were living with Derek's parents, why we couldn't see them. Derek's family blamed us. They believed we'd manufactured evidence, that we'd framed their son. They got a restraining order preventing us from contacting the children. I've lost my daughter and my grandchildren, I told Michael, and I don't know if I'll ever get them back. Claire and I sold our house in Toronto. Too many memories. We moved to a smaller place in Stratford, near the theater festival. We go for walks by the river. We're in therapy, both individual and couples counseling. The money from the business sale sits in a trust. We've set aside funds for Emma and Noah's education. money they can access when they turn 18, whether their mother is in prison or not. We donated $2 million to the Poison Control Center of Canada. Another $1 million went to organizations that support families affected by domestic violence and elder abuse. Because that's what it was. Our therapist helped me understand. Elder abuse, financial exploitation. It happens more often than people think, especially in families with wealth. I'm 67 now. Dr. Chen says the digoxin caused some permanent damage to my heart. I take medication daily, real medication this time, prescribed by real doctors. I get tired more easily than I used to, but I'm alive. Sometimes I wonder what I did wrong. Was I too generous? Too trusting? Did I shield Jessica from consequences too many times when she was young? Did I make her feel entitled to things she hadn't earned? Our therapist says I can't blame myself, that Jessica made her own choices. But it's hard not to feel like I failed somehow as a father. Claire and I talk about it late at night, when neither of us can sleep. We go through our memories, looking for warning signs we missed. That time, Jessica borrowed money from Michael's college fund when she was 19. The way she always seemed to be calculating, planning her next move. How she chose Derek, a man who valued wealth above everything else. We taught her to work hard, Claire says, to be ambitious. We didn't teach her to be a murderer. Then where did it come from? I don't know, Richard. I honestly don't know. Michael visits more often now. Last month, he brought his partner Alex. We had a good weekend. Went to see a play at the Festival Theater. Had dinner at a nice restaurant. It felt normal, or as normal as things can feel now. Have you thought about writing to Jessica? Alex asked. Over dessert? No, I said immediately. Then, more softly, I don't know what I would say. Maybe that you forgive her? I don't. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Claire squeezed my hand. Forgiveness isn't about her, Richard. It's about you. About letting go. I'm not ready. And I'm not. Maybe someday. But not yet. What I've learned from this nightmare is that trust is precious and fragile. Even family can betray you. Especially family. Because they know how to get close. How to slip past your defenses. I've learned that love without accountability is dangerous. I love Jessica unconditionally. Never questioned her motives. Never made her truly face consequences for her mistakes. And she took that love and used it as a weapon. I've learned that money changes people. Or maybe it just reveals who they truly are. The promise of wealth. The ease it offers. The doors it opens. For some people, that's worth more than integrity. More than family. More than love. But I've also learned that partnership matters. Claire saved my life. Her instincts, her quick thinking, her courage. Without her, I wouldn't be here. 38 years of marriage. And she proved that when it really mattered, she had my back. And I've learned that justice, while important, doesn't heal everything. Jessica is in prison. Derek is in prison. They're paying for what they did. But I still wake up some mornings, and my first thought is to call my daughter, to ask about my grandchildren, to share some news or a joke. Then I remember, and the grief hits me all over again. If you're reading this, if you're listening to my story, I want you to take something away from it. Watch for the warning signs. Financial entitlement, excessive interest in your will or estate, isolation from other family members, sudden health problems that don't quite add up. And please, trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, investigate. Don't let love blind you to danger. Family can be the greatest blessing in your life, but they can also be your greatest vulnerability. Keep your own counsel about your finances. Don't give anyone, not even your children, too much power over your money or your medical care. Maintain relationships with multiple trusted people, lawyers, doctors, friends, who can offer outside perspectives. And if you have wealth to pass on, consider talking openly with your children about expectations and timelines. Don't let them build their lives around money they haven't earned yet. Encourage them to create their own success, their own security. Most importantly, value the people who truly care about you. The ones who love you for who you are, not what you can give them. The ones who would sound the alarm, who would protect you, who would fight for you. Claire and I are building a new life. It's smaller than the one we had before, quieter. We've learned to find joy in simple things. Morning coffee together, walks by the river, evenings at the theater. We've learned that security isn't about money or family legacy. It's about knowing who you can trust when everything falls apart. I think about Emma and Noah often. They're 10 and 8 now. They'll be adults someday, old enough to understand what their mother did, old enough to make their own choices about whether to have a relationship with us. I've written letters to them, sealed and stored with my lawyer, to be given to them when they turn 18, letters explaining what happened, why we couldn't be in their lives, how much we love them. Maybe they'll read them and understand. Maybe they'll throw them away unopened. I don't know. All I can do is hope that they grow up to be better than their parents, to value integrity over wealth, family over fortune. As for Jessica, she'll be eligible for parole in 11 years. She'll be in her late 40s, still young enough to rebuild a life. I don't know what kind of person she'll be when she gets out. I don't know if we'll ever speak again. But I do know this. I survived. Against my daughter's plans, against the poison in my system, against the betrayal that should have destroyed me. I survived. And I'm using the time I have left to try to make something good come from something terrible. That's all any of us can do, really. Survive the betrayals, learn the lessons, and try to leave the world a little better than we found it. Even when the people who hurt us are the ones we loved most. Especially then.